From there he set out and went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know he was there. Yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Then he said to her, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." So she went home, found the child lying on the bed, and the demon had gone. Then he returned from the region of Tyre and went by way of Sidon towards the Sea of Galilee in the region of Decapolis. They brought to him a deaf man who had an impediment in his speech, and they begged him to lay his hand on him. He took him aside in private, away from the crowd, and he put his fingers into his ears, and he spat and touched his tongue. Then, looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, "Ephphatha," that is, "be opened." And immediately his ears were opened and his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. Then Jesus ordered them to tell no one, but the more he ordered them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. They were astounded beyond measure, saying, "He has done everything well. He even makes the deaf to hear and the mute to speak."
Loving God, may each of us hear you speaking into our lives this morning. Good morning, lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you, those of you joining in from home as well. Have you ever changed your mind about something? Is anyone brave enough to give me an example of changing their mind about something? Couldn't quite hear that. What to wear today, thank you. Any other changes of minds? What to cook for dinner? One more, anyone got another example? Which car to buy? I'll tell you my example. Having been a very fussy eater as a child, I have in fact changed my mind about quite a lot of foods. I found out, against my expectations, that I quite liked ketchup, coleslaw, mayonnaise, and some types of fish. Not mackerel, though. And no one is ever going to change my mind about olives, I'm afraid. What changed? Did someone mention Marmite there? What changed? Well, I think I started listening to all the people that said, "Go on, try it. You might like it after all." So a second question, which is linked. Have you ever been convinced by someone else to do something differently? To change course or to change your actions? Perhaps maybe something a bit more significant than what foods you like to eat. Any ideas? Anyone brave enough to give me an example? You don't have to. Oh, yes, go on. Going for a job. So did someone convince you to go for something that you weren't sure about? Fabulous, that's a really good example. Any other thoughts on that one? So I wonder who, in your example, who did you listen to? Sorry, I don't know your name. Who did you listen to? So listening to your husband to kind of, make a change of mind to go for that job. Thanks, that's a really good example. So in the stories we heard from the Bible today, we meet at least 3 people, maybe 4, perhaps more, who did some changing at one point or another in the story. First up, we met a woman from Syrophoenicia, someone from a different region to Jesus, a Gentile, not a Jew, who everyone in Jesus' crowd would expect to be treated as an outsider. She didn't belong, but she had a problem and she knew Jesus could do something about it. Her daughter was ill and she needed Jesus to help her daughter, to heal her daughter. So something needed to change for the mum and for her daughter, and Jesus was central to that change happening. And in the second story, we meet a man who was deaf and who had difficulty with his speech. He needed Jesus to heal him, and Jesus did just that. So that was another person changed. Can you begin to imagine how huge a change it was for that man who'd been deaf for a long time, probably treated like an outsider because of it? He might not have been able to get work or survive without the help of others. Suddenly, he had his hearing and his speech, and even though Jesus told him and those around him to keep it quiet, they just couldn't keep quiet about it. Their friend had been healed, and loads of people got to hear about it and be amazed at what Jesus had done. So the woman's daughter changed. Very likely the woman herself changed. The deaf man changed. His friends and family around him changed. And probably many people around who got to hear of the miracles were changed as well. The ripples were spreading out from Jesus, from these two encounters, a young girl and a deaf man healed and transformed. More and more people would have heard and wondered and been changed in some way by those miracles. The good news of Jesus was beginning to spread. But there's one particular person at the centre of these stories whose mind was changed, and that was Jesus. And the first of those two stories, Jesus has quite a debate with the woman. In fact, he's rude to her. But she has a good argument, and it really does look like she persuades Jesus to change his mind. So is it possible that Jesus was less than perfect, and that he was able to say things to this woman that we would now call prejudiced or racist? Or is something else going on? Is Jesus pretending to argue back, only to let her win the argument so he can heal her daughter? That doesn't quite sit right either, does it? Is he testing her to find out what faith she has? Many people have talked about what this little story tells about Jesus. But I think what we do see in this meeting between Jesus and the Syrophoenician woman is we see Jesus, the Son of God, with all his power to heal the sick and set people free, also being fully, completely human, with all its cultural restrictions, the pressure of all the demands on his time, the roughness of human conversation, and most importantly, the willingness to listen and to be changed by the people around him. We saw it when he healed the deaf man, listening carefully to what he needed, taking him aside for a bit of privacy, and then being really hands-on in the way he healed him. But at the heart of the story, Jesus listened to the man's needs, he listened to the woman's needs as well, and responded and healed. Jesus doesn't seem to do off-the-shelf, same-size-fits-all methods when he heals people. Every encounter with Jesus that we read in the Bible is just unique and different, tailored to what's going on in that person's life. It's beautifully, perfectly human. And Jesus, the one perfect human that has ever existed, demonstrated perfectly what it is to be human, alongside and amongst others, listening to others, responding to those around him, even changing his mind in ways that are totally natural. What I see in this is Jesus, with all the power he has as the Son of God, embracing being human, so that his actions are never separated from the people around him. He listens and responds just to what is needed. We see him willing to change his mind, not because he's imperfect, but because he is perfectly human, and he understands what it is to truly listen and respond, and even to grow and be changed himself. I heard a great quote this week, which said, listening is the willingness to be changed. There's a quote that's used by actors who specialize in improvisation. Listening is the willingness to be changed. In other words, if we're not willing to change or be changed, then we're not really listening. Is it part of our essential being human to listen to others and be willing to change? Has Jesus set us the perfect example for that? What examples could we think of? Since we've got the joy of a christening happening today, let's think about babies and small children. You'll not be surprised to know that they change all the time, don't they? Every day, they're growing and learning new skills. Learning from mum, dad, brothers, sisters, other children around them. They learn gradually to speak by listening, copying. Old baby language drops away as they get more and more skilled at talking. I wonder if it happens the other way around as well. Just put you on the spot, Emma. Has Lottie taught you new things or changed you at all?
Yeah.
It's a different...
Yeah. Don't expect the two of them to be the same.
Don't expect the two of them to be the same. So she's changed your way of thinking about things as well. And since we're celebrating a renewal of wedding vows today, you will not be surprised to hear that anyone in a successful marriage will, over the years, have done a lot of listening and changing. And hopefully, I don't know why you're laughing, and hopefully even learning to be willing to change for each other's sake. I won't put Linda and Alan on the spot just yet. But is anyone here willing to say they've been changed by the person they're married to, or perhaps by a long-term friendship? Anyone willing to say that they've been changed? Long-term friendship or in a long marriage? Oh, we've got a hand up. Fabulous. That's very reassuring. So we've got small children growing and changing all the time, and changing those close to them. Grown-ups being willingly changed by long-standing friendships and marriage. I haven't mentioned yet what's coming up for us as a church. A process of listening to each other and to God as we review how we do worship on Sundays. For some, the worship review may feel a bit risky or very risky, and it may thoroughly test our willingness to listen well and be changed. But I wonder if that's one of the things Jesus was demonstrating for us in this story. How to listen, how to be willing to really change because of the people surrounding you. So as we celebrate Lottie's baptism today, and as we celebrate a renewal of wedding vows, and as we look forward to the coming weeks of intentional, careful listening to each other, let's remind ourselves that just as we're changed by Jesus and all that he's done for us, we're also changed by each other. And that is a glorious thing not to be run away from. If we're truly to discover what it is to be fully human in the way that Jesus was, we might find ourselves willing to be changed by each other and listening to each other in a whole new way. Let me finish with a prayer. Loving God, thank you that through your Son, Jesus Christ, you not only saved us, but you taught us what it looks like to be truly human. Help us to learn how to listen to you and to listen to each other, and to be willing to change around those we know and love. Amen.